He picked up the phone. And just like that, he was gone. I remember the way the air changed. The moment felt too quiet, too still, like the world held its breath. He looked me in the eyes, smiled like everything was fine, then answered a call that should have meant nothing. It was just a ring-on. Just a few seconds of conversation. But when he walked out that door with the phone still pressed to his ear, I had no idea it would be the last time I'd ever see him. It's been years. I've played that moment back in my head more times than I can count. What did I miss? What did he hear? Why did he leave so calmly, so quickly, without a word? And most importantly, who was on the other end of that call? Let me take you back to when everything felt normal. Maybe if I walk you through every detail, every thought, you'll see what I didn't. Maybe someone out there will help me understand what really happened to my friend or whatever he became. It started like any other weekend. I was crashing at Dean's apartment. We'd been best friends since high school, and even though adult life tried to pull us in different directions, we still had this routine of hanging out every Friday night. Pizza, dumb horror movies, and hours of ranting about work. Comforting, simple stuff. But this time, the energy was off from the start. Dean was distracted. He kept glancing at his phone. Not like he was waiting for a text from a girl or anything, no, it was more like he was expecting something. His fingers would hover over the screen, then pull back. Like he wanted to call someone but couldn't decide if he should. I noticed, of course. I'm not blind. But when I asked, he brushed it off. Just work crap, he said. New client's a little weird. Keeps messaging at odd hours. I believed him. Mostly. But there was this hesitation in his voice. A slight stutter like the sentence had been rehearsed. At one point, I caught him scrolling through his call logs. That's when I saw a number at the top with no name. Just a string of digits. And next to it, 24 missed calls in a row. Is that the weird client? I asked. He looked up, eyes wide, like I'd caught him doing something illegal. Yeah. Just ignore it. That was the first real red flag. We tried to go back to the movie, some B-tier slasher with ridiculous acting, but Dean couldn't relax. At one point, he muted the film entirely and just stared at the black screen, his reflection faintly staring back. Have you ever felt like someone was watching you? He asked suddenly. I laughed, mostly to lighten the mood. Bro, we're literally watching a horror movie. You're supposed to feel paranoid. He didn't smile. I'm serious. Like, not just watching from afar. I mean watching through your phone. Your camera. Hearing your thoughts before you say them out loud. I paused. He wasn't joking. He kept talking like he was spilling something he'd been holding in for days. I got this call 3 nights ago, he said. Didn't recognize the number. It was 999999999. No caller ID. But something in me. I don't know, I felt like I had to answer. He leaned in, voice dropping low. The person on the other end wasn't a person. Now, I'm not the type to jump to supernatural conclusions. I thought maybe it was a prank, or someone spoofing a number to scam him. But Dean didn't sound crazy. He sounded scared. They said my name. Not just Dean. My full name. My real one. The one no one uses. Then they said the name of the street I grew up on. And the color of the wallpaper in my childhood bedroom. Stuff no one should know. My skin started to crawl. He went quiet for a second, then added, they told me if I didn't listen, they'd start erasing things. Erasing? I asked. He nodded. Memories. People. Proof. Like entire parts of my life. Like they never happened. Sounded absurd. Like something out of the kind of creepy stories we used to laugh at on Reddit. But Dean wasn't the type to joke about this. And the look in his eyes? It wasn't performance. It was dread. I asked him if he had proof. He pulled out his wallet. Showed me his license. His name wasn't Dean. It was a completely different first and last name. But I've known him for years. I've called him Dean since day one. That's not possible, I muttered. That's gotta be a fake ID or something. He shook his head. Go through your phone. Look at my contact. I did. His name was saved as Darren Lowe. I didn't put that in there. I didn't even know that name. I looked back at him, heart pounding. What is this? Some kind of trick? I wish it was, he whispered. We sat there in silence for a while. He didn't try to explain it further. He just kept staring at his phone, waiting. Eventually, I crashed on the couch. Tried to sleep it off, convincing myself it was just some elaborate prank or a glitch. Maybe he was having a breakdown and needed help. But at 3:17 a.m. I woke up to the sound of his ring-on. That same unknown number. He was standing by the window, phone in hand, frozen like a statue. Then, slowly, he answered. I watched him from the couch, half asleep and confused. His eyes were wide, like he was seeing something through the phone. His lips moved silently at first, then he started nodding. A long, slow nod. And finally he spoke a single sentence. I understand. Then he walked out the front door. I didn't follow at first. I thought maybe he was just trying to clear his head. But after 20 minutes I started to panic. I called his phone. Straight to voicemail. I texted. Nothing. By morning he was still gone. I called the police. Filed a report. But when they ran his name, Darren Lowe, they said there was no one by that name living at his address. No records. No ID. Not even the lease for the apartment matched him. It was under some faceless corporate name. I tried to explain everything. The phone call. The license. The missing contact info. They didn't take me seriously. And then things got worse. My photos with Dean started disappearing from my phone. Not all at once, just a few each day. Messages vanished. Call logs too. His contact name changed again. This time to just a single emoji. Then it disappeared completely. Eventually, I couldn't even remember what he looked like unless I really focused. Like his face was slipping from my mind. But I didn't give up. I looked through old journals. Found one with a few entries that mentioned him. Tangentially. Like pizza night at Dee's place or watched that dumb ghost movie again. Nothing concrete. No last name. No details. I tried contacting mutual friends. No one remembered him. No one but me. And maybe that was the point. Maybe he told the truth. Maybe whoever or whatever was on the other end of that call really is capable of erasing people. Not killing them. Not hiding them. Just deleting them. Like they never existed in the first place. And here's the part that keeps me up at night. 2 days ago, I got a call from an unknown number. 999-999-9999. I didn't answer. But now I'm wondering if that was a mistake. I didn't answer that first call. Not because I was brave, but because I was terrified. My hands were shaking so badly I nearly dropped the phone. I just watched the screen as it buzzed. No name. No message. Just those repeated nines staring back like a warning. After it stopped ringing, I threw the phone across the room. I thought that would be it. One call. One misconnection. But no, this thing doesn't stop. It rang again. The next night. Same time. 3:17 a.m. I stayed completely still, hiding under the covers like a child, hoping the monster would go away if I just pretended hard enough. But this isn't a monster in a closet. This thing is smarter. It doesn't claw at your door, it rewrites your world until you're the only one left who remembers what it changed. On the third night, I gave in. I didn't want to, but I needed answers. Needed to understand what happened to Dean, Darren, or whatever his real name was. I picked up the call. For the first few seconds, there was no sound. Just static. But not the kind you hear on a broken radio. It sounded like whispers all jumbled together. Thousands of voices murmuring at once, like I'd tuned into every lost thought the world had ever buried. Then one voice cut through the rest. Not loud. Not angry. Just clear. Patient. Like someone explaining something for the last time. We don't take people. We correct them. I didn't know what to say. The voice continued. Dean was an error. An echo that remained too long. The system needs balance. Do you understand? No, I didn't understand. Not then. What system? I asked. There was a pause. Then the whispering started again, but this time the voices weren't just murmurs. They were phrases. Names. Places. Things I recognized. The park where Dean and I carved our initials into a tree. The name of the teacher who once caught us sneaking out during senior year. The color of the sneakers he wore on our last hike. Memories. Real ones. And then I heard one final sentence. You are not immune. The call ended. I sat in my apartment for hours after that. I couldn't sleep. Couldn't think straight. My brain was caught between disbelief and fear. If what the voice said was true, if Dean wasn't taken but erased, then what did that make me? Just another error waiting to be corrected? I tried to push the idea away. Told myself maybe it was a nightmare, maybe I'd finally cracked from stress. But the changes started again. This time it was my apartment. Subtle things at first. A framed photo I knew used to have both of us now showed just me. The shadow next to me was still there, blurry, but the body had been smudged out like someone used a digital brush to wipe him away. Then came my email inbox. Messages from Dean gone. Replaced by vague subject lines with no content. The timestamps were there, but the content? Blank. Even my memories began to feel unreliable. I started questioning everything. Was that trip to the mountains real? Did we really laugh so hard we cried at that terrible comedy club downtown? Or had those memories been implanted to make me believe he existed longer than he did? You don't realize how fragile memory is until you start losing pieces of it in real time. And it wasn't just Dean. Slowly, I began forgetting other people. Faces at work became unfamiliar. I bumped into a neighbor in the hallway and realized I didn't remember their name, even though they'd helped me carry groceries last week. My world was unraveling. I needed help. So I did something desperate. I posted about it online. Not on the big platforms. I knew better than that. I found an obscure forum, one of those dark corner boards that doesn't show up in search results. It was called Echo Left. I wrote everything. The call. The disappearance. The changing memories. And then I waited. For 2 days, nothing. I thought maybe I'd made a mistake. Maybe the paranoia was just mine. Then someone replied. Their username was Repeat. They didn't say hello. Didn't ask questions. They just wrote. You're in phase 2. You need to act fast before they complete the overwrite. I messaged back asking what that meant. They responded with a list. I still have it written on paper because I don't trust digital anymore. 1. Revisit every place you knew them. 2. Speak their full name aloud as often as possible. 3. Document what you remember by hand. 4. Stay disconnected for 72 hours. 5. Most importantly, never answer another call from 999-999-9999. Why? I asked. Their reply was instant. Every time you answer, they anchor deeper into your memory. Then they can change it. I followed the instructions. I returned to the park. The tree was still there, but our initials were gone. I dug my nails into the bark, peeling at the old spot. Faint grooves remained beneath the surface. Like someone had tried to erase them, but not completely. I shouted his name, both names, Dean Miller. Darren Lowe. Over and over, like a chant. People stared. I didn't care. I drove to his childhood street. It looked the same, but the house had a different number now. Different color. And when I knocked, an old woman answered who claimed no one named Darren or Dean had ever lived there. I wrote everything I could remember on paper. Page after page. My handwriting got messy as I rushed to beat the forgetting. I shut off my phone. Pulled the SIM card. Locked it in a drawer. For 3 days I disconnected. No internet. No screens. Just me, the notebook, and memories I refused to let go of. It helped. Not entirely, but enough. Some of the memories felt sharper. Others remained hazy. But I clung to what I had. Then, the moment I turned my phone back on, the voicemails started. 10 of them. All silent. All from the same number. I didn't listen. But one of them downloaded something to my phone. A file labeled darrenfinal.mp3. I debated for hours whether to play it. In the end, curiosity won. It wasn't what I expected. It was his voice. Dean. My friend. Clear as day. He sounded calm. Not scared. Not confused. Just resolved. If you're hearing this, I didn't win, he said. But you might. Don't let them overwrite you. Memory is the last real weapon we have. Write it down. Share it. Speak it. Then he said something I'll never forget. They erase people, but not patterns. They can't delete what repeats. What repeats? I didn't understand it at first. But then it hit me, this isn't just about me or Dean. Others have been through this. Others are going through this. Maybe you. Maybe someone you know. People who vanish without a trace. People we forget existed until someone reminds us. That strange sense of déjà vu when a face feels familiar but you can't place why. What if that's not just a glitch? What if that's the rewrite taking hold? What if we're all part of a larger pattern, slowly being corrected one by one? And the only way to stop it is to remember. I started carrying a notebook everywhere. Not my phone. Not a tablet. Pen and paper only. It became my lifeline. Every time a memory surfaced, no matter how small, I'd write it down. What we talked about, what we laughed at, the way Dean used to slap the table when he found something ridiculously funny. I even scribbled down old pizza orders. Pepperoni with jalapenos. He was obsessed with that combo. Said it was the perfect mix of hot and hotter. Each detail I wrote made the image of him feel more real again. But at the same time, something was still off. I wasn't the only one forgetting. One afternoon, I ran into someone who'd known both of us, James, a guy from college who once joined us for a road trip up the coast. I approached him at a bookstore, said hi, brought up the trip. He looked at me blankly. Trip, he said. We never took a trip together. We did. You, me, and Dean. He frowned. Who's Dean? I tried describing him. Tall. Wore too much cologne. Laughed like he didn't care who heard. Nothing clicked. I pulled out the notebook, showed him an old Polaroid I'd managed to save, one the digital copies had already deleted. He stared at it, and then something weird happened. He flinched, like the image hurt his brain. He didn't say anything, just turned and walked away without another word. Later that night, I received a message from an unknown number. Not the 999 call. Just a text. Stop sharing contaminated data. Others are not cleared for memory restoration. The text vanished before I could screenshot it. I knew now this wasn't just some anomaly. There were rules. Rules I was breaking. And rules that somehow someone or something was enforcing. So I went deeper. I reached out to Repeat again. Asked them to explain what Phase 2 really meant. What the stages were. What happened at the end. Their reply was longer this time. It wasn't comforting. Phase 1, signal exposure. The call. Phase 2, initial overwrite. Loss of shared memory. Phase 3, isolation. Disconnection from external verification. Phase 4, collapse. Internal memory destabilizes. Phase 5, termination or integration. I didn't like the sound of any of it. I asked what integration meant. Their answer chilled me. You stop resisting. Your memories are rewritten to align with the system. You no longer remember resisting at all. I didn't want that. I couldn't let go of what I knew even if the world around me wanted me to forget. But things were getting harder. I'd moved out of my apartment by then. Too many anomalies. My fridge once refilled itself overnight with food I didn't buy. My calendar started displaying events I never scheduled. People showed up at my door claiming they'd always lived there. I needed somewhere quiet, off the grid. So I rented a cabin in the woods. No neighbors. No cell signal. I left my phone behind. Just me, notebooks, and an old radio. For the first few days, it worked. My thoughts cleared. I could remember Dean more vividly. Even dreamt about him once. He told me to dig. That dream stuck with me. Dig? Where? I searched around the property. Nothing at first. But then I found an old fire pit behind the cabin. Something about it felt wrong. I dug. About a foot down, my shovel hit metal. It was a box. Inside, a burner phone, turned off, sealed in foil. And a stack of notes. Not mine. Not Dean's handwriting either. Someone else. Sloppy, rushed. Pages covered in numbers, phrases, and one repeated line over and over. The call knows your fear. I powered on the phone. One contact. No number. Just a name, don't answer. I backed away. Almost threw the phone in the woods. But then it rang. That name flashed across the screen. I stared, heart racing. I didn't answer. But the phone kept vibrating. 30 times. 40. Then it stopped. The next day, I found writing on the mirror inside the cabin. I hadn't written it. You're in Phase 4 now. I stood there frozen. Something about seeing those words in person, not on a screen, made it feel more real than any voice or whisper. They were in here with me. Watching. That night, I couldn't sleep. The walls creaked like someone was pacing just outside. The radio, silent all day, suddenly came to life at 3:17 a.m., playing only static and a faint hum, like someone breathing into a microphone from miles away. I decided to go back. Not back home. Back to where Dean first got the call. I still remembered the place. A quiet gas station on the edge of town. He told me once he was parked there when it rang the first time. So I went. It was boarded up now. Closed permanently according to the signs. But I found my way around the side. Climbed the fence. The pump where he'd stood still had faint footprints on the concrete. It felt like a memory trying to stay alive. I sat there. Just waited. At 3:17 a.m. my watch stopped ticking. The world felt frozen. No wind. No sound. Just silence. Then out of nowhere, my name echoed from behind me. I turned. No one there. But on the pump, written in marker, was a fresh line of text I hadn't seen before. Repeat the loop or break it? That was the choice, wasn't it? This entire thing was a loop. A pattern. Like Dean said, what repeats cannot be deleted. If I kept trying to forget, to run, I'd get overwritten like the rest. But if I repeated the loop, dug into the memories, said his name, reclaimed the story, maybe I could break the cycle. So I said it out loud. Dean Miller. Darren Lowe. Over and over. Then I told the story. To no one. To the wind. I recited every moment I could remember. I spoke it like a spell. And when I was done, the world started moving again. My watch ticked forward. I felt a shift. Like something heard me. And chose for now to let me stay. That was the first time I felt any kind of control. I knew I had to go further. There had to be others. If I could find more people like me, people clinging to memories of those who vanished, maybe we could help each other stay real. So I started documenting online again, under a new alias. I called it Project Anchor. Each post is a memory, a moment, a signal. If someone else out there reads them and feels something spark, some forgotten name or face that triggers a real emotion, then I've done my job. I've created an anchor. And if enough of us do it, maybe we can stop them. Maybe we already are. Because lately, the calls have stopped. But something else started. I'm dreaming of Dean again. Only now he's not just talking to me. He's warning me. There's a phase 6, he said last night. I asked what it was. He whispered, "You become the call. You become the call." Those words repeated in my mind for days after that dream. I couldn't make sense of them. Was it a metaphor? A warning? Or was Dean, if that really was Dean, trying to tell me I was already changing? The idea haunted me. I started noticing new patterns. Odd ones. When I walked past reflective surfaces, mirrors, windows, black phone screens, I'd see a flicker. Not a figure. Not a shadow. Just a delayed version of myself, like a reflection caught lagging behind reality. Like my image was buffering. And my voice on recordings, voicemails, anything, I sounded different. Slower. Detached. As if someone had taken the soul out of my speech and left behind a shell. It scared me. Because if Dean was right, phase 6 wasn't about being forgotten. It was about becoming part of the system. Integrated so deeply that you started doing what it did. Making the calls. Delivering the overwrite. Maybe that's how it spreads. Not through tech. Not through towers. Through people. People like me. So I went silent. Stopped posting. Shut down Project Anchor. Disconnected entirely again. For 2 weeks, I lived in silence. No internet. No phone. Just paper. Every day I wrote reminders. About who I was. What I believed. Who I'd lost. But I couldn't stop the dreams. They came every night, more vivid than the last. I saw a place. A cold, dark space filled with phones. Thousands of them. Lined up on walls. Hanging from ceilings. Some old and dusty. Others modern, sleek, glowing faintly. All of them ringing. All at once. And in the center stood a chair. One person in it. Their back to me. A phone pressed to their ear. Each night I'd get closer. Closer to the chair. And then on the 12th night, the figure turned around. It was me. Same face. Same clothes. Same tired eyes. I was the one making the calls. Waking up after that was like drowning. I couldn't breathe. My heart raced for hours. I needed answers. Final ones. So I reached out one last time to repeat. No response. Their account was gone. Not deleted. Just gone. Like it had never existed. I started searching for others. People with similar stories. Anyone who'd seen that number, heard that voice, felt the void creeping into their memories. I found one. A woman named Chloe. Her blog was buried deep, buried so well it took days of backtracking links just to uncover. Her last post was dated 5 years ago. It read, "I answered. I remember. I resisted. But now the voice is mine. I call out to others so they won't forget. Even if they forget me." And below that was a strange sign-off. "I am the memory of the forgotten. And now so are you." I stared at that for hours. Because by then I knew what I had to do. I couldn't outrun it. Couldn't hide. But maybe I could fight it. Not by dodging the calls. But by answering with intention. By becoming the one who remembers. By using the system against itself. So the next time the phone rang, I answered. No fear. No hesitation. I spoke first. I remember Dean Miller. Darren Lowe. I remember the pizza orders. The horror movies. The laugh that echoed off cheap apartment walls. I remember the call. I remember the warning. There was no static this time. No whispering. Just silence. And then, a click. Not a hang-up. A connection. A voice answered. Not the one from before. It was mine. Not recorded. Live. Real time. It said, "Do you accept integration?" I paused. Then said, "No. I accept memory. I choose resistance." The call ended. And then my world changed. I didn't vanish. I didn't forget. Instead, people started remembering again. Old friends reached out. Asked about Dean. Told me they had weird gaps in their past that suddenly felt filled. One sent me a group photo. Dean was in it. The real one. Smiling. Holding up a peace sign like always. The more I spoke about him, the more real he became again. The system, or whatever it was, didn't like it. I felt pushback, static in my ears, flickering lights. But it couldn't stop me anymore. Not now that I knew the truth. That memory is power, and stories are resistance. So I'm telling you this now not to scare you, but to remind you. If someone you love disappears without a trace, if memories start to shift, if your mind feels like it's buffering, lagging, erasing what matters, write it down. Say their name. Tell the story. Because the only thing stronger than the system is what survives it. Memory. And if one day you get a call from a number you don't recognize, at a time that feels too quiet to be a coincidence, you have a choice. Answer and forget, or speak and remember. Your voice might be the only thing that saves someone else, just like mine might be saving you now. So remember Dean, and remember me, because the story isn't ending. It's repeating. And maybe, just maybe, you've heard it before.